Okay, here we go. I'm going to try to go slowly explaining everything step by step so that no one gets lost. Anyway, if you have any questions or there is something you don't understand, you can write to me in the channel's comments and we will solve it. The first thing we are going to do is go to File Import, and we are going to open our folder where we have the entire project, and here in the Assets 1. We are going to import all these. I am also going to leave it with the project files so that you can continue this course with me. We are going to import everyone except the one on the map, Amazon, and house contours. We then have to import these two as a composition since they are separated into layers. We are going to import them, and we put all of these into a folder that is going to be called Assets. Now if we come to File, Import File, we bring the one from the house with latest import as composition and layer size. Okay? And we are going to create a folder that this is going to be for the files. And in this of the files, we are going to put this one that contains the layers of the house. Well, we put it in there. And another one for the compositions, and this one from the Contornos house, we put in this folder. Again, we return to that of the import file files and bring that of the Amazon map as composition and size of the layer OK, and this composition to its folder. And here we are left with the layers of the house in contours and those of the Amazon map. Okay, let's create another folder. This is going to be for audio or audios. We select File Import, and we are going to bring this audio that we have created in ElevenLabs at the beginning of the course. Another folder is going to be for the images that we could put into the assets, but hey, we are going to leave it here apart from File Import, and now here in Cropped and Arranged Images. That are the ones we have prepared in Photoshop. Are we going to import all these except the Photoshop file? And now in this files folder, just like File Import before. And here we are going to bring this Photoshop file, which is the one that has Jeb's layers on the computer and his parents. We import it as a composition and editable layer, styles or K, and we put this composition that you have created for us in your folder. And well, I think we already have all the files. Then if later, as we move forward, well, if we have to import any more, we will bring it without problem. Now, without having any selected, we are going to come to New Composition. And this is going to be the 1920 by 1080 montage at 30 frames. And we are going to put the time 1 minute. And here the audio that lasts 55 seconds. Well, we are going to put it in this composition to have a little more margin here. Okay, well, we copy this audio with Ctrl-C and go to the Compositions folder, and we are going to create a new one that is going to be called Intro of 1920, 1080, 30 frames. And this is going to be 20 seconds. We give OK, and here with Ctrl-V, we paste the audio that is going to serve as a guide. With the L key twice, we display the audio waves.
In 1994, Ken Bezos founded the company Amazon, which had its physical space in the garage of his house in Seattle.
Well then, I think the first scene is going to go as far as here, as far as it says his first physical store in the garage of his house. This is where the first scene will go, and then this part here.
This impulse from Jeff was generated by the idea of creating an online bookstore, taking advantage of the growing potential of the internet.
Until here, another one will arrive, and then when from here, he continues speaking.
Initially,
He says, well, then here, we're going to keep creating animations. Well, the first thing we're going to do in this composition, we come to the assets, and we are going to bring the texture. It is made of clear cardboard, and we put it up here. We have to convert it to 3D. If you don't see the cube icon with F4, we deploy it. And now we are going to activate two views. Here in the Z-axis, we are going to send it to the bottom. We deploy the position. And here in Z, we are going to put 20 to 50. Now with control. Well, before doubling it, we are going to do one thing. We are going to put ground on this with Control D. We double it. And this is going to be called wall and left. We deploy the right key rotation here in Greek Y. We are going to set a value of 90O, which happens since these two layers have the same tone and they barely differ from each other. We are going to momentarily give it an effect. Then, when we add the lights, we are going to create shadows and textures. But for now, we are going to put some levels to differentiate those two layers. And here on this lever, we are going to darken it a little. Look, well, we leave it there more or less. We unfold the position with the PI key. We are going to bring it to the left. Here we are going to put minus 2200L, and we leave it as it is. And here we are going to put the Z2100 again. Control of, and this is going to be right wall. We select it, and here in the Z-axis, we are going to move it towards the other side. We display the position, and here we are going to put 4150, here 540, and we leave 2100 as it is. Okay, now what we're going to do with right click is we're going to create a camera, and this is going to be 15 mm. We are going to put a wide angle objective, and for example, 2 nodes. And now with right click, again, we are going to put a null object. We also convert this to 3D and connect the camera to it. And here we take off the Y position with the shift or shift key pressed. We also deploy rotation. We mark 1 in Z and key U position twice, and we are left with only the keyframes. We move to the second 210. Here we mark another in rotation that is going to be 0, and here we are going to do a little zoom. We are going to put minus 250, and here at the beginning, we are going to do much more zoom. Here we are going to put a value of minus 3500, and we are going to put the rotation at 200O. Now all these keyframes F9, and we are going to give this shape to the curve so that it starts very fast, and little by little it loses speed.
in 1998,
Well, for now I'm going to pay for the audio. And we have this animation here. We can turn the background on and off. Okay, perfect. For now, these 3 layers, those of the cardboard texture with the S key, we expand the scale and set it to 110 well. Here at this point, we duplicate this null key or these keyframes by clicking on the clock. We eliminate them, and we're going to put new ones in position and orientation. And we're going to come almost to the beginning here at frame number 4. We put these two keyframes here. And now here in 2:15, for example. Therefore, it is important that we have to connect the previous 0 to the new one. Here we are going to put a value of 940 here in Z, because we are going to leave it at -330. And to better see what is happening, we are going to activate two views and see what is happening here. When we encourage this orientation, we are going to put it at 90. Okay, perfect. We select all F9, and we are going to give an influence of between 50-52 out there. And this is the movement we have. There it is. Now we have to put a few effects here to the layers. We are going to start with the one on the floor, and we are going to put what is called motion tile. Here we can repeat the pixels in width. We can put 150, for example. I'm going to leave only this layer to see it better. See if I left it at 100. I'm going to put 150, and I'm going to activate mirror edges. And now here at this value, well, we're going to increase it a lot, not that much. For now, I'm going to leave it at 400 or 450. Come that way. And we stick this Control Psi effect to the left wall, Control V, and to the right wall, Control V. Come on. We're going well. We unfold the keyframes of this null and here in these at the end. With Control D, we duplicate the null key again, or we delete these and mark a new one in position without moving the head from there, and this null. We relate it to the new one, and we are now going to put ourselves here in table 22. As I say in the tutorials, I put these values because after having been doing some tests, they are the ones that have worked best for me. Well, we're going to put this keyframe there and advance to 305. We've already matched him. Now we have to do a lot of zooming here. And we're also going to lower it a little bit. We put a value here of -1100 on the Z-axis. And here we are going to do a lot of zoom. We're going to make the camera move far forward or far back. We give it a value of -8000. We select the two F9 and right click. We come here, frame velocity, and we can give it an influence of between 50-52, somewhere 50 and 50. And let's see what we just did looks like. There's great, okay? Here at this point, we are going to come to the Images Project panel. And we're going to bring this one from Jeff, the one at the beginning that's standing here, looking ahead. We put it over there. Well, I'm going to put here on top of the textures and all these layers of textures, and Jeff's, I'm going to paint it the same color, okay? Now we have to make this character in 3D being here at this point, and we start Control. He's standing right here in front of the camera. Notice that if I activate two views, Here we have the camera and here the character. The anchor point is right in front of the camera. What happens with the R key? We have to rotate here in the x-axis. We put a value of 90 oct here, and we are going to activate a view again. And I am going to also deactivate the background. And now this Jeff layer, well, we are going to move it down. We display the position, and here we are going to put a value of 300. Okay? I'm also going to move it a little to the right so that it stays there more or less centered. 1210 pixels. That's great. Notice here in this part that we have not randomly placed the character. If we lower it a little more, look, there his feet are cut with the texture of the cardboard. He is interacting with these layers, so we leave him more or less there when his entire feet are still visible. We put ourselves here in the last keyframe, and we're going to bring back the cardboard texture. We put it here, we painted the same color, and we convert it to 3D now with Start Control. It is planted here in front of us key array. Here we are going to put it 90O on the x-axis. What happens? We have to move it a little back. Look here where we have it. Where do we have the character who is at the same height in Z? Well, we are going to move this texture towards the bottom a little more. Pi key on, and we are going to put minus 10,000. There it is. Look here. Well, to this texture in the background. Here we come to the left wall, for example. We copy the motion time Control C, we paste it to the background Control V, and we are going to change the name background. And these are already well renamed: wall, left, right, background, and floor. Okay, if we want the one in the bottom, we can lower the motion time a little, for example by 300. And now this is on the floor. With Control D, we double it, and we are going to make the ceiling. We activate two views, and see here the movement made by the camera that goes down and then goes towards the background. Well, this layer that we have doubled, which is that of the soil, we're going to change the name to roof. We're going to move it in the z-axis upwards. Notice here that we are watching it in real time. We unfold the position, and here we're going to put a value of minus 3500 in Z minus 3500. What is happening now doesn't look very good, because we have to put a light that we are actually going to do now on this left wall. We remove the levels of the right wall. We also deactivate it with Control. We select everything. And this layer of the ceiling here at first should not be seen. So at this point, more or less in these keyframes, because we are going to cut the one on the ceiling there. So that the beginning is not seen. Now we left click New Light. And this will be point type with an intensity of 100. And we leave the cast shadows activated with an opacity of 35% and the From the shadow to 10%, we give OK. And well, here we can now see the shape of the box. What happens? We have to position the light in its place. We are going to activate two views. Look here where we have the light, and here in the background, the scene. That, by the way, we have to repeat the pixels upwards to fill all these spaces, and that's the same. And we are going to do it now here on the left wall, the output with, look, if I move it there, we see that we already have all that part covered. And in this one here, the same right wall, output with 2, 3, we leave it there, 180 more or less. And I think we already have it now. Where we were going, we have to position the light. We move it to the bottom right. Well, so as not to get confused, we are going to put the exact values. Key P, we display the position, and here we are going to put 2200 in X here, in Greek Y, minus 6160. And in Z, we are going to put a value, minus 450. There it is now, perfect for this Jeff layer to cast shadows on the textures. We deploy. We come to Material Options, and here the shadows case that is off, we put it on, and look, there we have the artist's shadow. Okay, perfect. I don't want the lights to affect what's going on. So here, where it says Accept Lights, we deactivate it. And here I see that the ground doesn't reach the end either. So I'm going to select this layer, not the ground layer, which is this layer here, and I'm going to move it back until it intersects with the bottom layer, which I think is already there. I'm going to leave it there, and these two left and right walls don't reach the end either. Notice that it is missing a little bit because we selected the left and right walls and here on the axis, and we are going to move them towards the bottom. Okay? I believe that all the layers are already interacting there with each other. Well, we also have to move the one on the ceiling towards the bottom. Look here, how we are completing all that space. There it is. Okay, perfect. Now here at the beginning, so that this scene doesn't look so dark, let's create another light. New light. But this is going to be ambient and intensity because we are going to put it. For example, at 30 we give OK, and there it looks great. Let's do a preview to see what we're wearing looks like. Okay, well, this looks perfect, just as we want now. Here at this point, at this null, we are going to continue with the animation control DKU. We delete these keyframes and mark 1, new, in the relative position, and move a little back. Here at 227, we put this keyframe there. And we advance to 4, 22. There it is important to connect this one to the new one. Now here, well, we are going to continue doing this animation. We put it at Y minus 6900. And here, well, we are going to raise all the elements a little upwards. We can put minus 520. These two with F9. We soften them. we enter the graphic editor. If the curve does not appear like this, you have to have Edit Speed Graph activated. We double click on this node, and here we set the influence to 80, and we leave this one here as it is perfect. With this, we get this kind of rebound. There it is. If we want this wall from here to the one on the left, which is this one, we can reactivate the levels to generate a little bit of contrast between this and the background. Okay? A little less there seems to me to be perfect. Here at the beginning, we are going to put a date with the text tool. We are going to write 1994, which is what the Alt Audio Control and the Home key says. We center the anchor point, and with Home Control, we center the text to the composition, and we have to do it in 3D. Well, again, with Home Control, we center it in View, and we are going to display the position, and here in Z, we set it to 0. Now what we have to do is scale the text quite a bit. That has become very small. We give it a value of 1700, for example. Are we also going to change the color and these layers here? Okay? I think that at the moment we have good organization. Let's see what it looks like. We're going to see it with the audio.
In 1994,
I'm going to make the text a little smaller, which I think is very big out there.
1994, Jeff Bezos founded the company Amazon.
Come on. Perfect. We're good. Now we come to the project panel, and from the texture, we are going to create a new composition, and we are going to come to the adjustments. This is going to be called cardboard texture, of course, but here we are going to change the dimensions, 3508 to 2480, which is a DIN format at 4 to 30 frames, and we leave everything else as it is now with right-click transform, and we are going to adjust to the height of the composition. There it is, perfect. And we put this composition that we have just created in your folder, and on top of it we are going to put the one from the house. Contours, we put it there and go inside. We select these 4 layers, right click, create. Let's create shapes from the vector layer, okay? And we can eliminate all of these if we want, and we are going to change their name. This is going to be a door. Well, we're not changing the name. We are only going to remove the outline line art. We are going to change the color of these 3. From the stroke, we put it in black. And now align art, which is this entire eastern contour of the house. We are going to put the effect of trim pads. And here, at the beginning of the timeline, we put it at 0. And we are going to move to the second 210 there, and we put that one at 100. We smooth out these keyframes, and that's it. Is this control effect? We copy it, we start at the beginning, and we are also going to add it here to this layer. We have it here. To the one of the door, we are going to leave the outline like this without animation. And we're going to move this solid up. We're going to put it right here at the top of the door. If we press the control key, it automatically stays there. I want to put what happens to this anchor point in this part with the Panvihimi tool. We come to the anchor point, we press control, and there it sticks to us very precisely. And now we are going to make the solid a little larger towards the sides and upwards. Okay? That's where it's going to stay. And we're going to put the details of the door on top of the solid mat, the two layers. We're going to change the key color. Wow, here when the animation ends. Door details, we press the P key. And we mark a keyframe in position and now count 40 forward, 10, 23 or 40. And this solid, well, we are going to move it upwards just like before. If we press the control key there, it sticks it to us very precisely. We smoothed these two keyframes with F9. And now, if we don't see the F4 tracking mats and we deploy them and this layer of details, I'm going to leave just these two to see it better. We have to make the door solid alpha mate, but we have to reverse the alpha mate there. It's perfect. Then this line is not going to be seen because we have this contour that serves as a reference for us. Come on, let's move on. We get right here on stop keyframes in the second 210 and we come to the cardboard texture. Here, this composition, as it is a vector with the S key, we can scale it to 250 by 100. And if we activate it, the react icon continuously, it does not lose quality no matter how much we scale it. Now, if we move from here by 210, for this cardboard texture, we come for the rectangle tool and we are going to make a mask for it, helping us with the contour of the door as a guide. Look, we start here and we are going to come to this part over there. This control layer of the duplicate and the texture below. We put the mask on subtract, so on one side we have this part of the door, and on the other, everything else. Now in the 210 that we have set, without moving from here, we press the P key of this texture, we mark a chifren in position. We come home, contours, and here in the 320. Without moving the head from there, we come again the texture, cardboard. Now what we have to do is then animate this layer upwards until it's more or less here at the top of the door outline. I think it's perfect there. We select the 2F9 and we're going to take a look to see if the animation matches. It's worth it. Notice here that you can see the texture up here. Nothing very easy. We passed it under the other and solved. Come on, and let's continue. Since we are in this composition, we are going to select the pen tool and we are going to click here, and with capital or shift pressed, we are going to mark another point on this part and we set the thickness of the stroke to, for example, 400. And with the fill deactivated, we are going to put the trim paths effect again. We set it here to 0, we mark a keyframe, and 10, 20, 30404 frames forward. For example, we set it to 100. But we are not going to soften these two or anything, we leave them as they are. What happens next? We will surely have to adjust the timing. For now, we are going to leave them there. And notice that when I do a preview, everything looks very pixelated. That's because we have to come here to preview and activate final quality. So now it looks good. We come to the assets folder and we are going to bring the Amazon logo. We put it on top of the layout. We are going to scale it because it is very large, and we put the film and the color. Well, since we have seen that the color blue stands out a lot on Amazon, we are going to put that color, and we are going to put this layer more or less there, centered with the stroke. Now with F4, I want this logo to be revealed with the stroke animation. So we're going to make it alpha mate. Okay, here's what happens now. We have to reactivate the perfect layout layer, and we are going to associate the Amazon logo with the parent link to the SAPE. And now if we move the SAPE, I am going to center the anchor point with Alt Control and the Home key. If we move it, then the logo goes behind it. Well, now we'll probably have to adjust the timing later. For now, we leave it like that, and we come back to the intro composition. And here in this last keyframe, we come to the projects panel, and we are going to bring the one with the cardboard texture. Of course, it's the one with the animations we just made. We put it there. We also change the color to differentiate it. And with the S key, we are going to set the scale to 75%. And we are also going to convert it to 3. Now it seems that it has disappeared, but with Start Control, we put it back right in front of the camera. Key Array Rotation X, we put it in 90. Well, what happens to this layer? We have to lower it here on the axis, and down we unfold the position to see it better. And here we are going to put a value of 520.
The Amazon company founded us.
Well, we can put this composition right there if we want.
Well, he founded the Amazon company.
And here in this part, more or less here, because you should already be seeing the animated layout with the Amazon logo, because here we come to the texture we display. Here are the keyframes, and we delayed these a little. We are going to put this one right at the beginning to see what it looks like there.
The Amazon company is established by the Amazon company.
The perfect one.
The Amazon company is founded.
What's happening there looks absolutely perfect. If we really want, we can lower it slightly. We plan to set the thickness at around 350. What about him and the logo? Well, a little smaller there. And we can also do one thing. We can rotate the RI key, even if it is a couple of degrees or 3 or so less. Second. Let's see what it looks like now.
Bezos establishes the Amazon company.
Okay. Well, there, it looks spectacular now in this keyframe. In this last one, again, Control D, Wiki. We eliminate these, and we are going to mark 1, new in position, and the previous 0, we link it to the new. And we are going to put ourselves here In the second 322, we mark a keyframe there in position, and we are going to move up to 615. There, and now we are going to go cheering here. In the z-axis upward, so that all elements move upward. We can put a value of 400 or 85 here, for example, okay? But so that the animation does not get stuck.
Physical in his house garage.
Get to this part.
In the garage.
Look, I aim to temporarily deactivate the audio to prevent it from lingering. Here's our plan. This keyframe, we move a little to the right and without moving the head. From there, here in Z, we are going to put 400. Now yes, we can put this one wherever we want, and we are going to go until 825. We select all F9. And now, in the graphic editor, we are going to give it this shape. Looking at some tutorials, I have been asked why I always do here. Double-click and activate the continuous box. If I don't do it, and I want to move this handler and then the other one, well, maybe it's not very precise to put them both at the same height, so that's why we block the continuous box here. We move them both at the same time, and it is much more comfortable and more accurate. We double click again, and here we are going to put an influence of 55, and in this double click, and here we are going to put 70 or K. So, instead of standing still when reaching this point, well, it is going to continue moving upwards, but already slower and slower. Let's watch it with the audio, see how it goes.
In 1994, Jeff Bezos founded the company Amazon, which had its physical space in the garage.
Well, here I see that the animation of the line art of the house is not seen, and the door opens too soon. So there's no problem with that. We come to this composition, and here then, we can put, for example, the house contours and this texture to see key and these keyframes. Well, this composition of house contours and this texture we can start with. For example, in the second 1.10 we are going to see now.
In 1994, Jeff Bezos founded the company Amazon, which had its physical space in the garage of his house in Seattle.
Now it looks perfect, and before the door opens more or less at this point, because I no longer want the back layers to be seen, nor the 10 Bezos, nor the textures. Then we select Edit Split Layer, and we delete these parts that have cut us, and now we have here a very clean transition that we still have to encourage. We put ourselves in the last keyframe of this null control, DKU. We eliminate all and mark one new. We relate important, and we are going to put here in the second 6, and we are going to put this keyframe there and right here in 825, which is where this animation ends. Now what we have to try is to fit the garage door with the composition to create that transition. Well, we are going to zoom here. We are moving these values until we manage to fit the door there. But as we do other times, I'm going to tell you the exact values. Here at X, we're going to put 1375 in Y. We're going to put a value of minus 7520. And here at Z, we're going to put 565. So there, we can supposedly create the perfect transition. These two keyframes with F9, we smooth them. Right-click, keyframe velocity, and we are going to put a 60% influence on both.
In 1994, Jeff Bezos founded the company Amazon, which had its physical space in the garage of his house in Seattle.
Well, this looks spectacular, which...
He had his physical space in the garage of his house in Seattle.
It looks great.
In 1994, Jeff Bezos founded the company Amazon, which had its physical space in the garage of his house in Seattle.
Okay, now what we have to do is create the garage room. Right here, when the door opens and you see Jeff Bezos reading a book in the garage. Well, we have to create the room. And we are going to do it also with the cardboard texture. We have it here in the assets. We bring it up here, for example, and we change the color to yellow so that it stands out from the other layers. And we are going to make this 3D. Now we put it here at the end of the animation, there more or less. And with start control over the texture we just brought, start control. And we put it right there in front of the camera. Look, there we have it intersecting with the line art of the house. Well, here on the z-axis, we are going to move it down until it is more or less at the root of the door. I think it can be worth it there. A little more, okay, there it is perfect, and with this we simulate the soil. But hey, we're still going to make some adjustments. The first key is here. We are going to set the scale to 25%. We activate two views. We come here to the scene, and we have to move it on the axis and here towards the front. To fit it here with the contour below the door without passing us, so that it does not protrude more or less. I think it can be worth it out there. We are going to change the name to Garage Floor. And this layer is not going to appear until the doors are opened. More or less there, we cut it into this keyframe, and with control we duplicate it. And here in rotation, and we are going to put it 90°, and now we have to move it to the left, more or less to this part, which is where there is supposed to be a wall that separates the house from the garage. So we are going to put it when this yellow line of the solid coincides with the eastern contour more or less there. It is perfect there. And we change its name. Left wall, again control die this. We are going to move it to the other part. And we're positioning this more or less here, where the wall should be. It's perfect there, and we also renamed it right wall. Then another copy. We select the floor, control and rotate it in X with the array key. We set it to a value of 90° pi key. We are going to move it a little further back. We put a value here of -7700 perfect. Let's preview it to see what it looks like.
In 1994, Jeff Bezos founded the company Amazon, which had its physical space in the garage of his house in Seattle. This impulse of,
Well, this looks great. What happens here? The 15mm lens of the camera doesn't seem to convince me because it gives us a lot of depth to the scene. And in this part, I want it to look a little more natural, as if we were seeing it through the human eye, which is more or less equivalent to the 50mm lens. Here at first I like how the 15mm works here anyway, but when we make the transition to the garage, well, it doesn't convince me. So we are going to do the following. We come here to the compositions and the intro with D control, we duplicate it, and this copy is going to be called transition, garage 50 limiter. We got her here, transition, garage 50mm. We enter this composition and look at you. We are going to do the following. We come to the camera that we have here, we double click and 15mm. We're going to change to 50. And now the garage room doesn't look so distorted, but it hasn't been modified. The position in the entire animation, but there is no problem. We are going to solve this very easily. We select all the nulls key UI here in 1234, in the fourth nulls, in this keyframe here, because we are going to modify the z-axis. We put a value of minus 1700 here.
founds the company.
In this composition, in the garage transition, we don't want Jeff or the textures from the beginning to be seen. So we select them all and turn their eyes off. We just want this scene.
Physical space in the garage of his house in Seattle.
Is what happens here in the last null worth it? We have to fit the door back into the composition to create the transition. So here we are going to leave 1375 as it is. Here we leave it the same 565. And here we are going to do a little zoom until we see that it fits, which I think it's fine there. But we are going to put the exact value. We're going to put minus 87 centi. Okay, I think it's perfect there. No need for further adjustment.
With the garage of his house in Seattle.
Okay, great.
In 1994.
This text doesn't need to be included in this composition either.
In 1994, Jeff Bezos founded the company Amazon, which had its physical space in the garage of his house in Seattle.
Are these garage layers worth it now? I don't want them to be seen in this composition either. Here I just want what the line art of the house is, and when we make the transition to the door, then inside the garage we are going to create other independent animations. So, we're going to hide these layers. Well, the one on the floor, not the one on the floor with Ctrl D. We duplicate it, we turn it off, and the copy we have made, we are going to move it to the front. Look here, and we are going to create a kind of floor key psi and set the value to 35%. To see clearly, we will add the level effect. We darken it a bit. Now we modify it again. For clarity, we need to move forward until this side. of the layer match the part down here of the door and create that feeling that there is a floor. I think it's perfect there. We are also going to move it a little to the left, over there. What about the layer? For now, if we want to deactivate it, now we are going to put a light to generate a little more shadows.
In 1994, Jeff Bezos founded the company Amazon, which had its physical space in the...
Okay, this one has to start a little earlier.
Well, he founded the Amazon company, which had its physical space in his garage.
There it is perfect.
The Amazon company, which had its physical space in the garage of its house in Seattle.
Okay, since we're here, we're going to create another light to give a little more texture to the composition. Right-click, New Light, and this is going to be spot type. Here we are going to put the intensity of 65, the cone angle of 75, and the ERDF at 50. This cast shadows thing. If we want, we can activate or deactivate it as you like. The brightest scene is already beginning to be seen there. But hey, so as not to get confused, like we have done before, we are going to put the exact values here. In position, we are going to put 1040. On the y-axis, minus 5075. And on the z-axis, we're going to put minus 1200. Look at the movements that the camera is making there. Now the point of interest. Here we're going to put 960 minus 5000. On the y-axis, minus 530. Here on z. Okay, look, where's the camera? Well, now here we are going to move the orientation and see how we illuminate the scene. Here we are going to set a value of 50. But so that the image is not burned like this, we are going to come to the light that we already have the point light on. And we are going to set the intensity to 30. Okay, perfect, there it is. And with this, we generate a little bit of shadows and textures. Notice here at the beginning that around here you can see shadows on the sides.
Which had its physical space in the garage of his house in Seattle.
Come on, since we still think this is looking great, let's come to the project panel. And transition garage 50 with Control D, we double it again. And this is going to be called Animation Garage 50 millimeters. Okay? We enter this composition, and here we are going to activate the garage room and deactivate all the other rooms on the floor. We are also going to deactivate the cardboard texture, which these animations have. We're just going to leave this part. Notice where Jeff is going to appear here standing on the shelf, and then we are going to transition to the next scene. We come to composition, editing, and here we are going to bring the intro, the garage transition, and the garage animation. We put this one in between, we change the color, and since the camera animation is the same in the three, here it has to match perfectly. Let's take a look at it to see what it looks like. Well, here I see that in the intro, we have to deactivate this composition, that of the texture, cardboard with the animations. There it is. We come to the montage. And here, it should already be seen perfectly.
In 1994, Jeff Bezos founded the company Amazon, which had its physical space in the garage of his house in Seattle. This impulse from Jeff was generated by the idea.
This will be truly amazing.
In 1994, Jeff Bezos founded the company Amazon, which had its physical space in the garage of his house in Seattle.
Now we can continue with the animation of the garage. Here we are going to bring the image of Jeff, the one he is reading, which we have right here. We put it over here on top. We change the color if we want. For example, green 2. And we have to convert it to 3D with F4. We deploy the icon of the cube. And there it is. He's already gone. We are going to display the keyframes of this null key. We put here in the last one, and we select the EF layer, and with start control, we put it right in front of the camera. Now key right here, we are going to put it at X90O. What's happening? Let's activate two views to see what's happening. Look, here we have EF that we are going to move towards the front, and this line that you see here, yellow, is the bottom of the garage, which is to see which one is worth it. Yes, this one that has changed its name for a certain reason. Okay, well, now we have to put Jeff's cape in front. From the layer at the bottom of the garage, to be able to see it here in the composition, we select the layer, we bring it forward, and just when we pass by, we can see it. You see there is the Psyche, and we are going to put the scale at 15 for the moment. And we bring it a little further forward, and now displaying the P key position. We are going to place it here a little further towards the front. Over there, more or less well. We are going to put the exact values here. At X, we're going to put 1515. Here, at Y minus 7015. And at Z 570. There it is perfect. What happens is we are going to lower the scale a little because look, here he is interacting with the layer of soil and his feet are cut off. Then key psi, we set the scale to 14. There it is perfect. This is turning out great, and now we have to keep cheering on the nulls. Well, before we cheer up the null, let's do one thing. Well, before we cheer, we're still here in the assets folder, and we're going to bring the bookshelf. We are going to put it there, and we are also going to convert it to 3D. We activate a start control view, and we put it here in front of the camera. Array key, we also have to rotate it 90°, and as we have done before. We have it here from the point of view of the camera, since we have to put it in front of this layer here, which is the bottom of the garage that sets the position for you. If it is minus 7700, well, here, the PI key, we can also put minus 7700, and now it has to appear there. We are going to climb it more or less there, and now on the axis. And well, we raise it a little. Until it more or less begins to cut here with the ground. I think it's perfect there. What happens, I'm going to bring it a little further to the front so that it is not exactly at the same point as the back wall. For example, 5 more pixels towards the front and scale. I think this shelf layer is perfect there. Control D, we double it, it's already downstairs. We are going to put 2 effects. The first, the one called fill or fill. And the color, we are going to make it black. Well, so you can see what's happening. I'm going to leave this cape alone. And now we are going to put what is called radial fast blur there. And we are going to leave it as it comes by default. What happens is that the opacity is going to drop a little. Looking is to give it a little shade. I'm going to set the opacity to 50. Okay? I think it's perfect there. Now another thing we're going to do is put on another light. This one from the spotlight if we want. We can deactivate it. And this one here. We are going to activate 2 views to see this light better here. We are going to set the intensity to 100 key. P. We display the position. And here we are going to put a value of 1720 in X. Now in, and we are going to put less. 7,000 has gone up. And here in Z, we are going to put a value of 340. There we have it perfect. Now with D control, if we want, we double it. We enter the light, and the intensity is going to be 30%. What happens is that we have to position it in another place. We are going to move it here to the left. Well, we're going to take off the position, and we're going to put the exact values here. In X, a value of -200. In Y, Greek, -8100. And in Z, we're going to put 600. There it is. This is going to be the lighting, what passes the boss's cape that we have here. Here at Material Options, we are going to tell you not to be affected by the lights. And to the bottom layer, if we want this one here too, we are still going to tell it not to be affected by the lights. Material Options. Accept lights. It has turned off. Okay? And now we continue with the animation. We put ourselves in this null in the last keyframe with control of the double key, or deactivate the ones I have put and mark one new. And we are going to put in the second 8 there. There we put this important keyframe, connect this to the new one, and we are going to advance to 1125. And now what we are going to do is bring the camera closer to the character. Here we do a lot of zoom. We lower all the elements a little bit there to the left. And well, we are going to put the exact values here in X. We put 1500, 9100. In YY 515 in Perfect Z, we select 2, F9 and right click keyframe velocity, giving a 50 influence to the drivers.
In the garage of his house in Seattle, this Jeff impulse was generated.
We put ourselves again here in the last keyframe Control D key, and we delete these. We connect the old one to the new one and mark another keyframe in position, and we are going to put ourselves in the second 10. There. We delay the keyframe and advance. Now we go to 13:05, and what we are going to focus on now is going to be the bookcase. So nothing. We are going to move this 0 until we are more or less happy with the plan. I'm going to leave it there. I think it can be worth more or less there, but we are going to put the exact values 1335 here. Well, no, not so much. We're going to leave this one. 1375. Now here we are going to put minus 9270. Let's see what it looks like there. Well, I don't like it either. I'm going to make more zoom out there. Minus 9355, 99355, and this one here. Well, we are going to leave it as it is, 550. And these two. With F9 we soften it, and the same right clip, keyframe velocity, and we put a 50% influence on the drivers. Okay, great. Again, here in the last keyframe, Control D key. Why we delete these? We connect the old one to the new one and mark another in position. And this one, we are going to start at 1125 there. There we put this keyframe, and now we are going to go to the second 16 to see if I nail it there. And now we are going to animate the Z-axis. Until the shelf no longer looks flat, we are going to lower all the elements. We can put a value of 150 here. Let's see how it goes there. Come on, I like it. We select all F9 and equal influence 52, 52. There we are going to put 52, and here also 52. We have to have a curve like this.
This impulse from Jeff was generated by the idea of creating an online bookstore, taking advantage of the growing potential of the internet.
Well, this looks exaggerated. Now at this point we are going to come to the project panel, and in the assets we are going to put this video called Global Internet. We are going to put it here. We delay it. And we convert it to 3D again with Start Control. We put it there in front of the camera, key RI, and we put the rotation in X at 90. What happens? We have behind the garage wall, we have to put it in front. We are going to activate two views. We select it and we are going to bring it to the front. Let's unfold the position to get a better look. We're going to put in Y a value of minus 7300. We are also going to lower the scale a little bit. Well, a little bit, not enough. We put it at 25% to see the position there well. And here we are going to create this transition. We are going to put an effect on this video called tint. And we are going to lighten the black parts a little, not much, so that it is not completely black. Okay? And we are going to create one last movement in this scene. Control D, we duplicate this 0, and key U, we eliminate these two. We relate the old one to the new one, mark 1 in position, and we are going to get in. In 1310, there we are going to put this keyframe, and we are going to finish the animation in 18. Here, what we're going to do is zoom into the background. We put -9140 here. We select both, and with F9 we smooth it out. Here we are not going to give any shape to the curve. We are going to leave it as is with F9. With Ctrl A, we select everything, and we come to the composition, assembly, and now here we are going to take a look to see that everything is working correctly. Well, I'm already seeing that this image of Jeff and the shelf don't necessarily have to be seen there. So we are going to enter the composition of the garage here, where we have this scene, and the shelves, which are these two layers. We are also going to cut them there, and the boss layer that we have here is also there. Okay, I think it's gonna look perfect now.
In 1994, Jeff Bezos founded the company Amazon, which had its physical space in the garage of his house in Seattle. This impulse from Jeff was generated by the idea of creating an online bookstore, taking advantage of the growing potential of the Internet. Initially, Bezos considered calling the company Cadabra in 1000.
Okay, does this look perfect? Now what we have to do is save our project so that it is not forgotten. We save it here in our folder that we have created in the projects folder, and this is going to be called course animation. We are going to fold here, and we already have what the intro, the transition, and the animation of the garage is. And from here, we are going to create another new scene.